Smart 24, driving business.
Thank you so much for remaining with us and watching Smart 24 Drive Your Business. My name is Anthony. Thank you so much for still continuing with us and as we found the market places where you were. Now we are going to cross over to Nairobi, but before that, I want to remind you about Altex East Africa, your #1 private stock exchange. You can buy treasury across East Africa, best interest rates in the land. Now with Zabu, they are giving you a chance to dial *292# and register and start your journey of investment. Altex East Africa opens their markets at 15 past 8 a.m. and closes at 15 minutes past 2 p.m. East African time. Now, getting to look at Nairobi on the second day of trading, they had about 48 companies that are listed participating in trading for the day. Amongst these, 16 appeared as top gainers and 21 were trading. Express Kenya led the gainers with a total appreciation of 9.7%, down up about 3.9 Kenyan shillings. Now, Express Kenya is Kenya's best company, where of course they are engaged in clearing and forwarding services, and as well as warehousing, logistics services for the different other players in the Kenyan market. It operates through 5, that is freight, as well as air freight, parking and movers, as well as transport, warehousing. The company's fleet of over 8 vehicles and about trucks, vans, trailers, low loaders, and so many others. When you look at the details here on the Nairobi Stock Exchange, Express Kenya has a total of about 157 million Kenyan shillings, sixth valuable company. Now currently about 0% higher market. Yesterday they did go up by 0.9 shillings up to 9 Kenyan shillings. Now that's in Ugandan shillings, about 90 Ugandan shillings. Change. They just had 4 deals at about 500 shares, total of turnover of about 1,605 Kenyan shillings traded as a company. Now the earnings per share are currently 1.9, and the earnings ratio is 1.7, but both of these are in negatives, which is very Express Kenya. They have about 47 million shares outstanding and a market capitalization of 157 million Ugandan shillings. Express Kenya in a week has gained about 21.9%, 4 weeks about 0.0%, and about 0.61% last month. Express Kenya also began the year with 4.1 shillings and has since then lost over 19. That's quite worrying, right? So must as well be careful. Lost a huge amount of year to date. Now this ranks them 46th in terms of year. A very position there to hold just after being top. However, currently Express Kenya is the 45th over past months. 8th of September, 20th. Express Kenya within this period has traded a total volume of about 88,000 shares, about 50, valued at over about 270,000 shillings. that is Express Kenya. TransCentury came the second place amongst the top gainers with 7.5%. Let's have a look at here. TransCentury is also a Kenyan-based company based in power, infrastructure, as well as transport and engineering industries. Africa. The company is focusing its activity mainly, that is power, transport, and engineering. Now, currently, TransCentury Africa Nairobi is currently at exactly 320 million Kenyan shillings worth of capitalization exchange. Nairobi, this makes it the 51st most valuable stock exchange via market capitalization. Nairobi Stock Exchange. Speaking about the Tuesday trading, the company did gain about 0.06 up to 0.86 Kenyan shillings. Quite affordable. This is quite affordable. It was a 7.5% gain. Currently, this represents 1,000 Kenyan shillings, and these were about 69,000 traders that came out with 1,000 Kenyan shillings and over. Things don't look so good in terms of year-to-date and other, particularly monthly and month's performance, as the company, of course, has lost about 26.5% their year-to-date performance tracker stock exchange. This is, of course, because they began the year with about 1.17K and currently at 0.86. That makes them lose about today. Not a good year for. However, interestingly, they are the 9th most traded on stock. The Nairobi Securities, the last 3 months, from the 20th of September to the 20th of December, they have recorded about 11 million shares. These are valued at exactly 8.94 million Kenyan shillings. That's quite something, right? So that's really basically what you have to maybe put in consideration as a trader, as an investor rather. When you're buying shares from a company that is really highly traded on, at least if there is any problem, you're sure you might find a way out. That's at least something to cover up. But if a company is doing bad year to date, it's bad in the monthly performance, also doing bad in trading, that's not a good stock, right? It's not a good stock for you. It's not healthy for your. Let's get to look at Home Africa, who was the third biggest gainer for the day. Home Africa gained about 6.06%. And I think Home Africa has had a very good time last couple of days. Home Africa is Kenya's only public traded property developer. Currently 59th most valuable position, and this with about 142 billion Kenyan shillings worth of market capitalization, representing about 0.0071% of that entire equity market of over shillings. Yesterday they gained 0.02 Kenyan shillings up to 0.35 Kenyan shillings per share. Now, this was after a volume of over 28,700 shares, and this in about 8 deals. 10,040 shillings gross turnover was listed. Currently, the companies, when you look at their year to date, they began the year with about the price of 0.4 Kenyan shillings, and that means they have lost about 12% of that as well. Not good. Their year to date performance tracker there. Also, shareholders' worries could be compounded by the fact that the company has lost over 10% last one. There you have it. But on the good side of things as well, Home Africa has about in the 15th position. Talk about most traded on stocks last months. This is from the 20th of September, the 20th of December 20. And in this period, they have traded about 4.46 million shares, valued at exactly 1.55 million Kenyan shillings. Besides from Africa, Stanley Fahari income rate also gained about 5.6% yesterday. So you check out Stanley Fahari stock there, Nairobi Stock Exchange. On the losing side, EGADS had the worst day of all the stocks on the Nairobi Stock Exchange after losing about 6.54% of their trading price, closing at 10.0 Kenyan shillings. Now, 10 shillings is about 290 shillings on the Uganda Stock Exchange. So you could probably compare this to Mene if you're talking about probably the Uganda Stock Exchange. But let's have a look at EGADS and see what EGADS is all about and what they have for us. Now, EGADS is principally engaged in the growing and sale of coffee, big business in Kenya. And if you've been to Richo and to the Turkana land, they do have lots of coffee and tea as well. So this is a tea growing and selling, coffee growing and selling company rather, Nairobi Stock Exchange. When you look at their market capitalization currently, it's not that big, being the 52nd most valuable company via market capitalization. The company has about 320 million Kenyan shillings worth of market capitalization. This represents about 0.016% of the entire Nairobi market, currently Nairobi Stock Exchange. As per yesterday, closing the day, they lost 0.7 Kenyan shillings, down to 10.0 Kenyan shillings per share. This was a 6.54% decline in price on Nairobi Stock Exchange. Now, the gross turnover currently is about 24,000 Kenyan shillings. That was as per yesterday's trading, and the total traded volume was 2,400 shares on the market. Now, when you look at the earnings per share, about 0.26 Kenyan shillings per share is earned by every shareholder on this one, and the price to earnings ratio is about 38.46 Kenyan shillings. That's it from that's there. Now, because of yesterday's performance, they did have a bigger year-to-date loss at exactly about 25.9% of their year-to-date performance. And this, of course, was because they began the year with 13.50. It is now currently counting losses of about 3.5 Kenyan shillings. So they are now in the, let's see, they're in the 53rd position year-to-date. Not a very good year-to-date. But also in terms of trading, they do not compete well with other stocks as they are in the 53rd. Now let's get a look at other bottom losers. Uchumi unfortunately lost this time round. Yesterday, but one Uchumi was amongst the top gainers. Like I say, volatility daily comes to capitalization. So Uchumi this time round came amongst the bottom. As Williamson Tea Kenya as well lost about 3.13% of their trading price, and Stanbic Holdings lost about 2.56% as well. Equity Group Holdings was the biggest for the day with about 3.3 million shares traded, and Safaricom in the second position at just 900,000. Well, what a distance there from 3.3 to 900. That's a big volume there for Equity Holdings. East African Breweries at about 300,000 shares. That was in the third position. Generally, the market slowed down on the second day of trading with a 50% decline in volume and a 4% improvement in sales, however. As well, the turnover improved by over 372%, definitely because of Equity Group having the biggest share there. Market. Now, the market capitalization of Nairobi stands at 2 trillion. And that's it from Nairobi. But before I depart from Nairobi, there are several stories that are interesting to know right now. Currently, you're in Nairobi and you're an investor, especially different companies on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Now, Mr. Dr. Ruto, William, is on a trip west as well, of course, with the Excellency William Museveni very important here in Uganda, and they are attending the Africa-US Summit. But during this summit last Thursday, the president made some very, very ostentatious remarks that could be attracting a lot of attention, especially for the lovers of stock markets. Kenya's President Ruto met the top executives of Delta Airlines in his American trip, where he launched the government bid to sell its entire 48.9% stake in Kenya Airways. The president held a meeting with executives of Delta Airlines, one of the largest US carriers by market value, last Thursday. He, however, declined, of course, to provide details of what was being talked about in the meeting, as a strategic investor in the national carrier offer expertise and cut its reliance on treasury handouts for operational costs. Dr. Ruto said he is unwilling to sell the whole. He is actually willing to sell the whole of Kenya Airways public company, and this was after he was by some Bloomberg journalists. Says that he's not into the business of running an airline that just has a Kenyan flag. That is not his. What a remark there from Dr. Ruto to the Kenya Airlines company. I think he has a point. When you have a national carrier that hasn't made a profit in the last 5 or 6 years and is continuing to drain the national treasury, seeking help from abroad, and it's really, really sometimes necessary to make such steps. Though, of course, they do hurt many people and definitely have a great impact on the employees, on the people who have shares in the company. But that is the way to go sometimes when things get tough. And Dr. Ruto could be taking the high moral road here for Kenya Airways. Now, US President Joe Biden last week hosted the US Africa Summit, and they will be discussing the 2023 elections and democracy in the continent, with about 50 African heads of state. Over about 300 Americans and African companies met their heads of different delegations to talk about investment, critical sectors, and that is according to the White House on Tuesday. So that is, of course, a story arising, and we'll keep track of that and get to inform you of whatever will be coming out of that. Will Kenya Airways be sold? Will it be sold off to an American airline there in US? So we hope that story will give a little course of Kenya Airways, and for the investors in Kenya Airways, you should keep track of that as well. Moving across, still in Kenya, the Kenyan Stock Exchange turning to a unified stock market project. Now, this is according to the CEO of the Nairobi Securities Exchange, Mr. Odundo Joffrey. Now, there was a little thing back in the day about Kenya Airways, rather Nairobi Stock Exchange getting to involve itself in this project. However, that kind of declined, and then now they're coming back saying this, and of course the details are not yet there, but there is some hope. Now, Kenya is back to a unified stock market for the region. 7 years ago, after it declined, 7 years after it declined the project over procurement concerns. The chief executive officer said that the negotiations are underway, and they are going on with the East African Community Secretariat for Kenya turn to the World Bank funded Africa Capital Markets Structure Project. When you look at this project, the East African Capital Markets Infrastructure Project, it aims at connecting the regional stock markets electronically, and so as to operate a single market with a view of reducing, first of all, the costs and then the time trading in shares of companies that are listed on the markets across the borders. I think this would be a brilliant idea. Imagine you could be able to buy stocks in Kenya unlimited and in real time. That would be awesome. Without need to have stockbrokers in Kenya and then you have to move and no. You just have to go buy shares just like you're buying them from the Uganda Stock Exchange. This will be awesome. So this is a good move there from the Nairobi Stock Exchange, and I am excited. I'm looking out for this, and I definitely hope you are as well. Let's get back to the market here. Very little, and then we wind up the day. Um, the African stock exchanges, like I mentioned, generally had not a very good Tuesday, but Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, on the other hand, registered a gain of over 419 points on their benchmark index. Now, this was after 28 companies participated in Zimbabwe Stock Exchange trading on the second day of trading, ending the day with 9 gainers and 13 losers. InScore Africa led the gainers with 7% gain, and Star Africa Corporation gained about 6.75%, whereas Zimplo Holdings gained about 5.99%. They are trading on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. You should check out Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. Really, something great is going on down there. That's it from us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to catch us every weekday, Monday to Friday at exactly 10 a.m. and we bring you updates from the different financial markets across the world and in East Africa, and give you opportunity to make sure you're using your investments, your savings rather, for investments. My name is Anthony. I'll catch you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye for now.